Be bedtime.
Good evening, everyone. Are you ready for today's bedtime story? Today, we will discover what can we do with a match in a story about a poor little girl, the little match girl.
Once upon a time, there was a poor little girl who lived with a violent father. He is often drunk and usually beats the little girl if she does not bring money home for him to buy alcohol. Every day, the girl had to sell matches to make a living. The night was severely cold and dark. The poor little girl went along the street, bareheaded, and with naked feet, which were quite red and blue from cold. She carried a number of matches in an old apron, and she held a bundle of them in her hand. Nobody had bought anything of her the whole livelong day, no one had given her a single farthing. She crept along trembling with cold and hunger. The flakes of snow covered her long fair hair, which fell in beautiful curls around her neck. From all the windows the candles were gleaming, and it smelt so deliciously of roast goose. It was New Year's Eve. In a corner formed by two houses, of which one advanced more than the other, she seated herself down and cowered together. Her little feet she had drawn close up to her, but she grew colder and colder, and to go home she did not venture, for she had not sold any matches and could not bring a farthing of money. Her drunk father would certainly beat her. Her little hands were almost numbed with cold. Oh! A match might afford her a world of comfort, if she only dared take a single one out of the bundle, draw it against the wall, and warm her fingers by it. She drew one out. It was a warm, bright flame, like a candle. As she held her hands over it, it was a wonderful light. It seemed really to the little girl as though she were sitting before a large iron stove, with burnished brass feet and a brass ornament at top. The fire burned with such blessed influence, it warmed so delightfully. The little girl had already stretched out her feet to warm them too, but the small flame went out, the stove vanished, and she had only the remains of the burnt-out match in her hand. She rubbed another against the wall, it burned brightly, and where the light fell on the wall, there the wall became transparent like a veil so that she could see into the room. On the table was spread a snow-white tablecloth, upon it was a splendid porcelain service, and the roast goose was steaming famously with its stuffing of apple and dried plums. And what was still more capital to behold was, the goose hopped down from the dish, reeled about on the floor with knife and fork in its breast, till it came up to the poor little girl, when the match went out and nothing but the thick, cold, damp wall was left behind. She lighted another match. Now there she was sitting under the most magnificent Christmas tree. It was still larger, and more decorated than the one which she had seen through the glass door in the rich merchant's house. Thousands of lights were burning on the green branches. The lights of the Christmas tree rose higher and higher, she saw them now as stars in heaven. One fell down and formed a long trail of fire. "Someone is just dead," said the little girl. Her old grandmother, the only person who had loved her, and who was now no more, had once told her, that when a star falls, a soul ascends to God. She drew another match against the wall, it was again light, and in the luster there stood the old grandmother, so bright and radiant, so mild, and with such an expression of love.
"Grandmother!"
cried the little one.
"Oh, take me with you. You go away when the match burns out, you vanish like the warm stove, like the delicious roast goose, and like the magnificent Christmas tree."
And she rubbed the whole bundle of matches quickly against the wall, for she wanted to be quite sure of keeping her grandmother near her. And the matches gave such a brilliant light that it was brighter than at noonday. Never formerly had the grandmother been so beautiful and so tall. She took the little girl on her arm, and both flew in brightness and in joy so high, so very high, and then above was neither cold, nor hunger, nor anxiety. They were with God. But in the corner, at the cold hour of dawn, sat the poor girl, with rosy cheeks and with a smiling mouth, leaning against the wall, frozen to death on the last evening of the old year. Stiff and stark sat the child there with her matches, of which one bundle had been burnt. She wanted to warm herself, people said. No one had the slightest suspicion of what beautiful things she had seen, no one even dreamed of the splendor in which, with her grandmother, she had entered on the joys of a new year.
This story is so sad. I cry a lot for the poor little match girl. I hope that she is now warm, full, and happy in heaven with her grandmother. How about you? I hope that you like our adventure tonight, and I also hope that you are ready for bed. Thank you for joining me, and have a sweet dream.